Welcome to Collective Perspective. I'm Ben Letty. To my right, Harry Beckers. To my left, Dan Hamill. We are going to cover quarterbacks in depth, dealing with where they're going in the rounds, for your upcoming drafts, where they're going, where I have my rankings, and then some more information as to just get you a decent plan for when your upcoming drafts are. We are FantasyLeagueCollective.com. Go there, join leagues. We have multiple leagues you can join. Survivor, Fantasy, it's the newest thing. It's kind of our baby deal that no one else is offering. Check it out. Awesome deal. Quarterbacks. Difference between standard and PPR affects your running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. Quarterbacks pretty much stay as they are. In standard, top 20 scoring players were all quarterbacks, every single one. So yes, for quarterbacks, standard-wise, having a top quarterback, in my opinion, is very, very important to having a good league. I am going to fall on a sword. In the very first show, I had said that I would take a quarterback number one. And now after doing more research and getting a ton of shit from everyone, I think I might have been wrong. Not that, again, and Cam Newton was far and away the number 1 point scorer last year, 368 points. Taking him number one would not have been a bad thing, so it's not, I'm not going all the way down on the sword, just halfway.
So why? Cam Newton's the number 1 point scorer, so why wouldn't you take him?
Who scored the second?
Second was Tom Brady.
And what did?
So 2 quarterbacks.
So what was his points?
A lot, 360 or 336, I think, something like that.
In what round did Cam Newton go in first, and when did Brady go?
Well, it all depends on your league. Each draft is different, so
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you can get value, and that's why you don't take him.
which is part of the
If
reason
you're
I
trying
have
to catch
take
up
this.
60, if you're trying to catch 60 points up, and you can get Tom Brady in the 4th or 5th round, isn't that value?
Yes, but a 60-point difference between a wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receivers that, breaking down the tiers, which we'll do next week, that 60 points can be hard to make up versus in the quarterback. But again, we're going off Cam Newton, who had an unbelievable year. I don't think he's going to have that year again. And he was technically in a tier on his own. The guy averaged 24 points a game last year, had 10 rushing touchdowns. Unbelievable. Average, I think he had just over 600 yards rushing. The guy was
It would
just
be very tough to repeat that.
impossible.
I don't know if it's impossible. He's good.
He's good, but they got a tougher schedule.
Yep.
We lost Norman. Stewart is a little bit older. I don't see that.
I think
don't
they
see
figured
that.
out how to play him too.
A little bit. Denver might have shown the
Yep.
way. Your second tier, sitting with Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, who got lucky after the second half of the season. That really buoyed him because the first half was horrendous, where he only averaged about a touchdown a game. He only had 1 rushing touchdown last year, so he still gets the yards, but his rushing touchdowns were severely down. Drew Brees, Blake Bortles in the second tier. They averaged about 21 points a game. Third tier, you had Palmer, Tyrod Taylor, who I am high on this year. Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Andy Dalton, Andrew Luck for the little bit that he was in, Kirk Cousins, Stafford. Fourth tier, you're looking at like your Mariotas, your Winstons, both rookies. Derek Carr actually was in there, and he's in the second year. A lot of people are pretty high on him. I think he's going to have a better year than that.
Me too.
I think he's going to go an uptick. And then, fourth tier, sitting at about 14.5 points a game, Jay Cutler, Brian Hoyer, Matt Ryan, Brock Osweiler, who in his sample did not really do terribly well. So I don't think he's actually going to have a very good year in Houston. And then your bottom tiers of Bridgewater, Kaepernick, and Tony Romo, who people would not think, but he only averaged about 10.5 points a game last year when he did play. I know he was injured, but still, he did not produce very well. Not terribly high on him.
So you think Brock Osweiler's the next Flynn?
I don't know about Flynn, because Flynn has a pretty epic fail. He's rich and living a better life than I'll ever live, but
Same story.
yeah, he's just, Osweiler got paid, and he's got decent receivers, got a good running game, got a good defense. It's going to be probably somewhat similar to Teddy Bridgewater, where he doesn't have to throw the ball a ton to be able to win, ideally. So some of the things, yeah, that's some of the stuff I broke down into 4 different tiers. Starting off though, before I go into my tiers, is I broke down the passing defenses from last year. So the teams that I believe that are going to have decent pass or play against the bottom half of the passing defensive teams last year are Baltimore. They played 13 of their 16 games against the bottom half of the league last year in passing defense. Flacco should technically be primed. Obviously, could be some changing, but usually it stays relatively close. I mean, some teams jump up, but most of the time it stays relatively close. Cleveland has 9 games of their 16 where they play the bottom half of the league in passing defense. Dallas has 10, Washington has 7, but they play Dallas twice, and I think Dallas is going to have a very bad defense this year, so I'm bringing them up to 9. Seattle plays 9 games against the bottom half. San Diego plays 8 games against the bottom half. Pittsburgh, 10 games. New York Jets, 10 games. Barry Fitzpatrick, I think he's going to have a big year. And he's going on average right now in like the 13th round, which I find amazing, especially after the year that he had last year. And then the Giants, who also, they have 9 games against the bottom half of the league. Pass defense, but they, again, played Dallas, who wasn't that bad last year. I think they're going to be pretty bad this year. Teams I think that have unfavorable schedules. Atlanta, they only play 6 of the bottom half of the league, so they have over half of their games are playing against pretty decent passing defenses. Matt Ryan sucked last year. He's probably going to suck again, somewhat.
You don't like him, do you?
I don't. I'm bitter. I lost that bet. I can't get over it. I just can't. I'm bitter. Indianapolis only plays 4 games against the bottom half, bottom 15, or bottom 16 of the league. The defense last year. Andrew Luck is going to be on his back. He's not going to have a very good year. I'm not high on him at all. He's going to average like the 4th round. I think that's way too high, in my opinion. But to each his own. Houston has 6 games against the bottom half. They're also going to. Their whole makeup of the team is different. They're more defensive oriented. They got Ivory, Belko back. Well, I shouldn't say Belko back, but between him and Yeldon, they're going to be running the ball more. I don't think they're going to be behind double digits as much as they were last year. So I really don't see Bortles having the year that he's had last year. And then Oakland actually has 5 games against the bottom half. So Carr, a lot of people are really high on them. They have good defense. They Kaneshi Osemele, their offensive line was really good last year with the addition of Osemele. It should help the running game. I don't think he's going to have to pass nearly as much. I don't think he's going to be in that 2nd tier. I think he's going to be more of a 3rd tier guy. So I broke it down into 4 different tiers. I don't think Newton's going to have the year. He averaged 24 points a game. My top tier is at 22 points a game. I got Breeze, Newton, Wilson, and Eli Manning, who I'm very high on this year in the 22-point game. And Shepard. I love Shepard. We'll tie in that range. You're sitting around 300 yards a game, 3 TDs, interception every other game type stuff. 2nd tier, I have at 19 points a game, sitting with talking Rivers, Rodgers, Carr, Taylor, Fitzpatrick, Roethlisberger, Kirk Cousins, probably Tom Brady. I actually think I might downgrade him. Edelman's having a little bit of injuries. I don't think New England's their schedule's actually a little tougher, and I think they're going to have a down year. Actually, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. You heard it here first.
Patriots?
Patriots will not make the playoffs. That's my bold prediction.
Wow.
And your 3rd tier, and everything's close, but the difference, so like 3rd tier is sitting at about 17 points a game, so your top tier is at 22 points. The 3rd tier, Carson Palmer, who I think is going to have a down year, Andy Dalton, Blake Bortles, Tony Romo, which I still think is a little high, but he has the offensive weapons, and they're going to be behind a lot, so he should have to pass. Matthew Stafford, Andrew Luck, Sam Bradford, one of my sleeper picks from earlier, Mariota, Winston, Alex Smith, who never gets drafted, but he still produces points, and he gets rushing yards. He was the number 4 rusher for quarterbacks last year, so.
Stafford was one of the hottest quarterbacks at the end of the year last year.
He was.
I like him.
He was.
I always liked him.
I like the addition of Bolden. I think between Bolden, Tate, and
Ebron.
Well, I'm not terribly high at Ebron, but
I like
everyone in
like
the panel likes
Ebron.
Ebron. But
I like Ebron.
between Tate and Marvin Jones, Bolden, I think he should be able to put the ball around a lot and should be able to put decent numbers. And their running game is absolutely atrocious, so they should get some numbers. So, and then your bottom tiers, your Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco has the possibility of doing really well, but don't know what Perriman's gonna do. As you said earlier, Steve Smith's 37, he could come out of a break and completely break his leg in half. We don't know, and Kamar Aiken could do it, but having one wide receiver just isn't gonna do it. Wallace is overweight, and probably who knows what's gonna happen with him.
And a head case.
So having a, especially in standard, you want to have a good run or a good QB to play every week. You don't, the carousel, as I can attest, it sucks, yes. It's no fun to do. The average draft positions of most people, so average, it's not saying it doesn't happen. So, I mean, some people will take Newton number one. I mean, Luck went number one in some drafts, probably just redrafts, not that, well, Dynasty was a number one pretty much overall last year, but if, for starting, but, I mean, the earliest round and the average right now going, Cam Newton's going in third round. So if you need to go into your draft with a plan. Where do you want to get your quarterbacks? What quarterback do you want? Where are you comfortable taking them? If you're going to go wide receiver or running back first, then have an idea of what round you want to take them. Have a couple guys around so you know if one guy's gone, someone takes them earlier. Have a backup plan, have backup from the backup. I don't recommend taking a running back until at least the 5th or 6th round, but that's me. I mean, right now, if you want to get into what I have ranked for the second tier, Tyrod Taylor's going in the 10th round. He had good rushing yards. He had 4 rushing touchdowns last year. He averaged about 3 points per game off of rushes. Fitzpatrick is going in 13th round. I have no idea why, especially off of what he had
crazy.
last year. And he basically have everything in place. The same thing other than Ivory's gone. Kirk Cousins is going in the 10th round. Washington has a very favorable schedule. I don't know why he's going so late. And I mean, they have great wide receivers. Running game, we'll see. The defense, they got Norman, but they still got to pass the ball. So it's all dependent on, I mean, every draft is different. You never know who's going to obviously take players ahead of you, but having a plan, being able to know where you want to have your players, where you're comfortable, so you don't want to overreach for anyone. You know, you don't want to have to get a guy, and if you can get Fitzpatrick, and God, if you can get him in the 10th round, I'd consider that a steal versus waiting until the 13th, or if someone takes him already gone, if you draft everyone prior to that and waiting on your quarterbacks till the very end. Not something I recommend at all because, yeah, I mean, if you're sitting in the bottom tier, those guys can have big games, but on average, they're just not going to do it. So it's much better to have a consistent top guy that you're going to play every week. You don't have to worry about your quarterbacks, and you can focus on running the waiver wire through your wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, flex, whatever, kicker, defense, all that, everything else. Have your quarterbacks set. What do you think? Did I sway anyone on Andrew Luck? No way 4th round, right? No way 4th round.
4th round Luck?
4th round Luck?
No, not this guy.
You want him earlier?
Oh, no.
I want him earlier than
You
4th.
give me Fitzpatrick over Luck.
I'd take Fitzpatrick in the 5th or 6th round. I'd have no problem with that. Way better. 13th just blows my mind. But so that's our quarterback wrap-up for today. We are FantasyLeagueCollective.com. You can get us. You can reach us there at FantasyLeagueCollective.com. We're on Facebook at that same moniker. You can tweet us, email us, get a hold of us any way you want. We have podcasts of the whole show or just this episode on Podbean. You can get that for free. On your iPhone or your Google phone, whatever phone, Android that you have, FLC Podcast on Podbean. That'll do it for this one. Thanks a lot.